Right then, I guess we should talk about this. I'm not sure how I feel. Arsenal fans, let me know in the comments down below. How do you feel with the reports that Havertz is close to joining Arsenal for a reported fee of 60 to 70 million pounds? I don't know what to think. It's blowing my mind a little bit. Do we need to spend 70 million on a forward, let alone a player that, let's face it, has not had the best of times at Chelsea, although he had that one incredible moment of winning them the Champions League, which is pretty remarkable. But I think we can all agree that his time at Chelsea hasn't been the best. I think we all expected him to do a little bit better. You can see in the bottom left corner, when he was at Bayer Leverkusen, he was an animal. Look at the under-17 stats. 26 goals in 53 appearances. And then, of course, for the first team, he played 150 times, 46 goals, 31 assists. And at Chelsea, he's very close to hitting the same amount of appearances. It doesn't look like he's going to now. And he's got less goals and assists, half the amount of assists, and he's quite far off his goals tally as well. So why is that? I thought in this video, let's explore what's happened to the Bayer Leverkusen version of Havertz, and why did it not work at Chelsea, despite scoring the winning goal in the Champions League final? I think we can all agree, Chelsea fans would agree, it just has not been that fairy tale signing that they maybe expected. He was one of the hottest prospects in world football, and I think people are forgetting that the guy is only 24 years old. He's still very young, physically gifted. He's obviously quite tall. He's physical in the air. We've got some stats to look into comparing him to some other players. I think it's just the fee that's scaring me a little bit. We're hearing reports of, 100 million plus for Declan Rice. We know we don't have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions to spend. We want Caicedo as well, but now that doesn't seem like it's happening. We're almost funding a Caicedo move to Chelsea by signing Havertz, although I'm pretty sure they will raise that money regardless. We're talking about maybe signing Lavia instead from Southampton. I think it's very clear that we are looking for a right-back solution, potentially another centre-back, potentially a winger. Where are we going to find all the money to do this? And I think that's where we do need to trust what Arteta and Edu and the rest of the staff have going on in there. They've made some very good signings over the years. They've had a few misses, but in general, our transfer windows have been very successful. So I'm prepared to back Arteta. If he wants a player, I want a player. Let's have a look at some of his stats. We're going to compare him to Gabriel Jesus and Nketiah from Arsenal because, Havertz, let's face it, is effectively playing as a number 9 for Chelsea. And we've also added in Diaby and Xavi Simons, two players that we're currently linked with as well. And it's just good to see a little bit of a different comparison. We're looking at wingers and strikers because I think Havertz is technically a bit of all of that. He's a striker, he's an attacking midfielder, he's a winger. I truly believe his best position would be kind of where Ødegaard is for Arsenal. So I don't know how that's going to work. But we are going to be comparing how many matches he's played, which he's got the most, by the way. Goals, conversion rate, shot accuracy, assists, chances created, pass accuracy percentage, and then aerial and ground duel success percentages. Now, of course, stats aren't everything. I think it's almost getting away from us a little bit in recent years in football. All we want to look at is stats. But when in reality, an eye test sometimes is enough. I think we all know that Havertz is a very good player. He's a technically gifted footballer. And if you watch the good times he's had at Chelsea and the good times he had at Leverkusen, he's almost unplayable, okay? Because he's so physical. He's got a very Robin Van Persie style technique. I don't really want to talk about him. Great player, though. God, if he could be as good as RVP was, that'd be incredible. So let's go through these stats. So he's got the most games played. It's worth putting that out there because he's had more opportunity on the pitch. I don't know if he's got more minutes played, but it doesn't surprise me that, because Chelsea haven't had a striker, have they? They don't really have their out-and-out striker. And of course, Jesus injured and Nketiah was in and out of the side when Jesus came back. Diaby and Simons just 1 or 2 games behind. Goals scored. This is obviously, again, you've got to take this with a pinch of salt because Chelsea were woeful this season. So you're looking at stats from last season. He's playing in a team that is underperforming by a mile. None of them were scoring and consistently playing at a high level. So the fact that he managed to get 7 goals, I don't think actually it's too bad. What does annoy me a little bit more is the fact that he's only got 1 assist compared to the amount of chances he's created. So we're looking at Gabby Jesus next to him, okay? He's created 31 chances compared to 38, and he's managed to get 6 assists compared to 1. Now, one thing you have to remember, you're relying on the other player putting the ball in the back of the net. At Chelsea, that wasn't happening. At Arsenal, it was happening a lot more. We have a lot more players that were chipping in with goals. But 1 assist is poor. Considering he's not an out-and-out striker, finisher, I actually believe he's more of a creative striker, definitely more of a false 9 centre-forward rather than a striker or a poacher. And I think it's backed up by his pass accuracy. Again, there's not much in it here. He's only just ahead of Simmons, who of course plays on the wing most of the time. But that's good. One thing you can obviously look into with pass accuracy is what kind of passes were they? Are they safe passes backwards and sideways? Is he making good passes in behind? And I think with Havertz, you would get a mixture. And I feel like if he is playing as a striker and dropping back, he is going to be making those through balls. But he's also going to be linking with his midfielders behind him, playing little simple passes out to the wing to get a cross in. Again, it's just a stat. But one thing I really like about Havertz is this aerial duel success. Name me a striker that Arsenal have had that would put up a stat like that. Now, of course, I don't have all the stats of every striker we've had, but in terms of the last few years, Aubameyang, relatively tall player, but not exactly strong. He definitely was not able to battle with a centre-back, chest the ball down, hold him off, and Jesus does that for us, okay, but not very well. He does seem to lose the ball eventually when defenders get tight to him. The trick with Jesus is to get the ball out of his feet and turn. I think Havertz is definitely going to be better with his back towards the goal. You see that with Nketiah as well. Not good at holding up the ball at all. And of course, with wingers, you're not going to see it very often, but Simmons has quite a high aerial duel success. And of course, this is winning headers. This is battling for chesting the ball down, whatever. Ground success-wise, again, it's a bit of a skewed stat because Simmons is in a different place on the pitch. But playing centrally, I would like to see Havertz doing better there. And I think that comes down to how the team plays. I don't think Chelsea are necessarily very quick to press. They're not exactly a tight team, are they? And I think a lot of the players, including Havertz, got lazy last season. And it felt like a lost cause for them. So I won't look into that too much. But I think what we can see with these stats is he's a different profile of player. We don't have a Kai Havertz at the club. And the fact that he could play on that right side, he could play behind the striker. What if, okay, now hear me out. What if we bought him and we tried him in that Granit Xhaka role? You're probably thinking, no way. There's no way Granit Xhaka would Kai Havertz would be able to do what Granit Xhaka did last season, because that involves quite a lot of defending as well. We would need Havertz to get back and plug little gaps, especially if Partey's leaving, which is reported at the moment. I don't think this would necessarily work. But what if that's exactly what Arteta and Edu and the staff want to do with Kai Havertz? Do they see him dropping a little bit deeper? I mean, to be fair, I think it would end up being more in this position. You know how Ødegaard starts in this kind of role and then he drifts into this area outside of the box, and then we do that pass, miss. I feel like Havertz could do the same kind of role, but I don't think he could do this part where he's dropping deep and defending. I don't know. The thing is, he's 24. He's physically able to do this because he's a strong runner. He's strong in the challenge. You know, we've seen that his aerial success is very good. Ground success obviously would need work. It's a tricky one because I don't think we're signing him to be in that position, but could he do it for us? We know that Arteta loves versatility, players that can play in multiple positions, but why are we looking to spend a huge portion of this budget that we've got on a player that maybe we don't need? Maybe we don't need Kai Havertz. Maybe we don't need to be spending 60, 70 million pounds on a player that we could put that money into someone else like a Caicedo. So as far as I'm concerned, the Declan Rice deal, we know that money has been put aside for that profile of player. Whether we actually get him or not, I think it's likely we will. It seems like Bayern have cooled their interest. It's just Man City now. That's a worry. I think Man City could easily blow out Arsenal out. Like, the contract offer would be obviously more. I think Rice wants to stay in London. He's growing his family in London. I don't see him potentially changing his mind and just going up to Man City. But it wouldn't surprise me if it did happen. It could, right? So if we get Declan Rice and we spend, let's say, 110 million, it leaves us a considerable chunk, but not a massive amount of money to get the rest of this team sorted. And I just feel like, although Kai Havertz is a good player, although you can go back and, I've been talking about him a little bit recently. I did mention it in my Chelsea rebuild, fix Chelsea video. I like him. I like the profile of Kai Havertz. And if we get anything close to the player that he was at Bayer Leverkusen, then we're laughing. And it's a bargain. He could be easily one of the best players in the world in his position. He's got that quality there. I don't think it's worked at Chelsea, and I think it could work at Arsenal. But it's a risk, because if it means we can't get the right back of choice, like a Cancelo, if we were ever able to do that, or a backup centre-back that we really want, or a Caicedo. I mean, we are effectively saying to Chelsea, here is a load of money, put it on Caicedo, and we'll just take Kai Havertz. It's a little bit of a worry to me. But look, I'm just an Arsenal fan. All of you guys watching obviously will have your own opinions on this, but ultimately, the only opinions that really matter are the people at the club that make this decision. Arteta feels like there is a slot, a perfect position that Kai Havertz can slot into and play for us. And we do need more attacking players at some point. I don't think Nketiah is Champions League level. And Jesus, of course, is a completely different player. Kai offers us something different. I'm all for it if that's what Arteta wants. And I think that's how Arsenal fans should deal with this. If the club want to do something, I think they deserve to be backed. They deserve our trust. So hopefully it works out if it goes through. I will back him. It's a German international with Champions League winning experience. Okay, this is quite an exciting potential deal if it goes right. I'm just worried, what if it goes wrong?